I learned the hard way that saying yes, just to be polite, can be a very dangerous thing. It was supposed to be simple. One small favor, the kind you agree to without really thinking, because saying sure feels easier than explaining why you can't. And honestly, at first, I thought I had everything under control. 5 minutes later, I realized I absolutely did not. At the time, I told myself, okay, this is just a small social discomfort, nothing serious. The problem is, social discomforts have a special talent for turning into stories you never planned to tell anyone. And it was right there, the moment I realized I had gone too far to back out, that one very clear thought crossed my mind. I should have said no. But by then, it was already too late. I could have said no. It would have been easy. 1 word, 2 letters, a tiny moment of courage. But instead, my brain decided that smiling and saying sure was the more polite option. That's when things started to go wrong. The relief on her face was a little too intense. And honestly, that should have been my first warning sign. Perfect, she said. So that's settled. When someone says, that's settled, with that much confidence, it usually means you just agreed to something you didn't fully understand. I tried to fix it. Just to be clear, I started. But she was already walking away. And for some reason I still can't explain, I followed her. As we walked, I told myself, okay, calm down. You're just being nice. This will be over in 5 minutes. 5 minutes later, I was standing somewhere I never planned to be, holding something that wasn't mine, listening to someone say, "Could you stay just a little longer?" I smiled again. That was my second mistake. "Sure," I said. In my head, sure meant I'm being polite. Apparently in the universe, sure means you've just committed to something. And that's when I realized 2 things at the same time. First, I had no idea how to get out of this without sounding rude. Second, I was starting to laugh inside because the situation had officially crossed the line from normal to ridiculous. And once a situation becomes ridiculous, it stops being uncomfortable and starts becoming a story. I was standing there, trying to look like someone who knew exactly what they were doing, when he appeared. He stopped right in front of me and looked at me like I was expected. Not confused, not surprised. Expected. "Oh, you're here," he said. "Great." I blinked. "Here," I repeated, mostly as a question. He smiled, completely satisfied. "She explained everything to you, right?" No, she absolutely did not explain anything. But then that second, more dangerous thought showed up. Okay, now it's too late to ask. So I did what any polite person with questionable decision-making skills would do. I nodded. "Yes," I said. That's when I knew I'd made a serious mistake, because his smile grew wider. "Perfect," he said. "Then we can start." Start? What exactly? I had no idea. All I knew was that once again I had said yes, and this yes was clearly going to cost me more than 5 minutes. He leaned in slightly, lowering his voice like he was about to share something important. "It's really simple," he said. "Honestly, I don't even know why they're making such a big deal out of it." Great. Whenever someone says it's really simple, it never is. "You just need to stay here," he continued, casually gesturing around us. "Act natural and pretend you know me." I blinked. "Pretend," I repeated, "that I know you." "Yeah," he said, nodding. "No big deal." No big deal. I looked around more carefully now. People walking by, talking, watching, sometimes looking at him, sometimes at me, sometimes at us. "And how long exactly do I need to pretend this?" I asked. "Just until it's over," he said calmly. "Over what?" I asked. He smiled. "The event." Event. That was the moment my stomach dropped in a very specific way. What kind of event? I asked carefully. A gathering, he said. Nothing formal, just a few important people. You stay by my side, talk a little, and that's it. That's it. In my head, helping for a few minutes did not include important people or pretending to be close to a stranger. So, I said slowly, just to be very clear, you need me to pretend I'm my girlfriend, he said, like he was ordering coffee. My brain went completely blank. Girlfriend. I laughed, a short, automatic laugh. You're joking, I said. He didn't laugh. I know it sounds strange, he said. But it's just for tonight. Just for tonight, another dangerous sentence. And why me? I asked. He looked at me for a moment, not judging, just noticing. Because you're already here, he said. Because you seem comfortable, and because... He shrugged. You said yes. Right. I glanced toward the door, then back at him, then at the people who were now clearly paying more attention to us than before. I knew I could leave. I really did. But then that final, traitorous thought showed up. Now it would be really awkward to leave. I took a breath. Okay, I said. But just so we're clear. He leaned in, listening. This isn't real, I continued. I'm not your girlfriend. I'm just acting. He smiled, visibly relieved. Of course, he said. Absolutely. And then, way too naturally, he offered his arm. Come on, he said. They're watching. I hesitated for half a second. Then I took his arm. And that was the exact moment I realized that being polite had officially turned into a situation completely out of control. The moment I took his arm, something shifted. Not because I wanted it to, but because my body clearly didn't get the memo that this was all pretend. He noticed. He didn't say anything, just adjusted his posture slightly, like someone thinking, okay, if we're doing this, let's do it right. Relax, he whispered. Just smile. Oh. Smiling. My strongest skill that day. We walked a few steps when a woman suddenly appeared in front of us. Finally, she said, smiling brightly. We've been waiting for you two. You two. She looked at me with immediate curiosity, the kind that scans you from head to toe in less than a second. So you're the famous... She started. Famous. I almost choked on air. That's me, I said, before even knowing how to finish the sentence. He squeezed my arm gently, a silent warning, or maybe a thank you. She just arrived today, he explained. Long day. I can imagine, the woman said, smiling at me. He hasn't stopped talking about you. No, he absolutely had not been talking about me. I smiled anyway. He exaggerates, I said. Exaggerates what? I still didn't know, but apparently it worked. The woman laughed. Oh, men, she said. Always like that. Always like that. Yes, clearly. We moved on, and with every step, that mix of nervousness and curiosity grew stronger. You're doing great, he whispered when no one was looking. That's not a compliment I expected today. I whispered back. He smiled. Trust me. That sentence should have been comforting. Instead, it sounded like a challenge. We stopped near a small group. Conversation started. Topics I didn't master. Names I couldn't remember. Situations I definitely hadn't agreed to. And yet, I was there, answering, smiling, improvising. Then someone asked the question. So, how did you two meet? The air shifted instantly. I froze for half a second. He was faster. It was by accident, he said. Nothing planned. I looked at him. Completely by accident, I added. And for the first time that night, our eyes met for a little too long, because that part wasn't a lie. I couldn't tell exactly when the situation stopped being just awkward and started becoming interesting. All I knew was that when someone asked how long we'd been together, a strange thought crossed my mind. If this keeps going, I might forget it's fake. And that idea made me nervous, and somehow curious at the same time. At some point during the night, I noticed something that made me uncomfortable for a completely new reason. I wasn't checking the time anymore. At the beginning, all I wanted to know was when this would be over. Now, time had somehow stopped mattering. I realized that when he stepped away for a few minutes to talk to someone, and I missed him. Missed. That word showed up in my head before I could stop it. Relax, I told myself. You're just socially exhausted. But when he came back and stood next to me again, naturally, like that was where he belonged, my body relaxed. And that was suspicious. You okay? He asked quietly, leaning a little closer. I'm fine, I said too quickly. Why? Because you got quiet, he said. And you don't seem like the type who stays quiet when she's uncomfortable. I laughed, surprised. How long have you known me exactly? I asked. He smiled. Long enough to notice patterns, he said. Or maybe I'm just guessing. I shook my head. You're guessing, I said. But you're not completely wrong. We stood there for a moment without saying anything. Not awkward, just calm. Do you want to step outside for a minute? He asked. It's getting crowded in here. I should have said no. I had already passed my daily limit of yes by a lot, but instead, I heard myself say, I do. We moved to a quieter area, away from the noise and the constant conversations. He leaned against the railing, looking out instead of at me. Can I ask you something? He said. Depends, I replied. If it's about why I agreed to all this, I'd like to know too. He laughed. No, he said. It's simpler than that. He looked at me then. Really looked. Do you always say yes this easily? The question caught me off guard. No, I said. I mean, maybe. It depends. On what? He asked. I thought for a second. On whether I think the other person really needs it, I said, or whether saying no feels more complicated. He nodded slowly. So today was a complicated day. Very. He was quiet for a moment. I'm sorry I put you in this position, he said. Truly. Something about the sincerity in his voice tightened my chest. It's okay, I said. Well, it's not. But it could have been worse. Worse how? He asked. I smiled. I could have been hating every minute of it. He looked at me for a little too long. And are you? He asked. For the first time that night, I didn't answer right away. Because standing there, next to someone who was supposed to be just a convenient stranger, the truth was suddenly a little too honest. No, I said finally. I'm not. He smiled. Not big, not dramatic, just real. Good, he said, because neither am I. And that was the moment. Not a touch, not a dramatic look, not anything cinematic, when a very clear thought crossed my mind. If this ends now, I'll be disappointed. That realization made me nervous. And somehow, happy at the same time. We stayed there longer than we needed to. Too long to be just convenient. Not long enough for me to fully admit what was happening. At some point, someone walked past us and said casually, "You two make such a beautiful couple." Couple. The word hung in the air for half a second. It wasn't awkward. It was revealing. I smiled. He did too. Neither of us corrected it. When the person walked away, I let out a quiet laugh. So, I said, I guess we officially have a reputation now. He smiled softly. Could be worse, he said. I've seen couples start for much less convincing reasons. That's not comforting, I replied, laughing. He turned toward me, more serious now, not tense, just honest. "I don't want you to feel trapped," he said. "If you want to leave now, I'll explain everything." That sentence changed everything, because he was giving me something I hadn't had all night, a clear exit. And when someone gives you a clear exit, you find out whether you actually want to take it. I looked at him for a moment longer than necessary. "I know," I said, "and that's what's confusing me." "Confusing how?" he asked. "Because," I said carefully, "a few hours ago, I didn't know you. And now—" "And now?" he prompted. "And now I'm here," I said. "Not in a rush, not counting minutes." He nodded slowly. "I noticed that too," he said. And I was trying to decide whether to say something, or pretend I didn't. "And what did you decide?" I asked. He smiled slightly. "Pretending usually takes more effort." I laughed. Agreed. We stood there quietly again. A comfortable silence, the kind that doesn't ask for anything. "When this is over," he said suddenly, "if it ever really ends." "If it ends," I repeated. "Would you like to get coffee with me?" he continued, without pretending. I didn't answer right away, not because I didn't want to, but because I liked the question too much. "I would," I said, "but I have one condition." "What's that?" he asked. "Next time," I said. "If I say yes, it'll be because I actually mean it." His smile changed then. More open, more real. "Deal," he said. And in that simple agreement, I realized something important. Maybe the problem was never saying yes too much. Maybe the problem was not noticing when yes stopped being automatic and started being a choice. The event ended without any kind of announcement. No applause. No clear, "This is over." People just started leaving, little by little, like nothing special had happened. And maybe for them, nothing had. For me, everything had. "So," I said as we walked toward the exit, "I guess we survived." He laughed. "With surprising dignity," he replied. We stopped near the door. That kind of stop where no one really wants to be the first to leave, but no one knows exactly what to say either. "Thank you," he said. "For tonight. For staying." "You're welcome," I replied. "Despite everything, it was better than I expected." "Same for me," he said, without hesitation. There was a short pause, not an empty one, the kind that's full of possibilities. "So," I said, taking a breath, "is this the part where we say a polite goodbye?" He tilted his head, thinking. "It could be," he said, "but I was kind of hoping for something else." "Oh yeah?" I asked. "Yeah," he said. "I was hoping you'd say yes one more time, but this time, knowing exactly what you're saying yes to." I smiled. "Funny," I said, "because for the first time today, I know exactly what my answer is." He looked at me, calm, no pressure. "Yes," I said, "I want to." The smile on his face was simple, not dramatic, just real. He opened the door for me and we walked out together. Outside, the air felt different. Or maybe it was just me. "Coffee tomorrow?" he asked. "Coffee tomorrow," I confirmed. We said goodbye right there. No kiss, no big moment. And somehow, it was perfect. As I walked home, I thought about everything that had happened that day. I had said yes out of politeness, yes out of impulse. Yes, because saying no felt harder. But in the middle of all those automatic yeses, one of them had changed. It became a yes I chose, a yes that felt calm, a yes that didn't apologize. And maybe that was the biggest surprise of all. Because in the end, I didn't regret being polite. I just learned how to recognize when yes stops being an obligation and becomes a choice.